Good evening and welcome to Three Beards and a Boss. I am TJ. I have my bestest sister. Well, I better not say that because I got other sisters. I got Becky, I got Bobby, I got Brian, and I got Miss Olivia. She's
Hello.
our guest tonight. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for being here.
Olivia is in law enforcement. We won't really get into what agency she works for to protect her and her agency.
Yes.
But I will say it's the state of Florida. That's about as
Okay.
far as we're going to go.
Okay.
She is a Gator fan, so we're good. I know the boys are kind of like, what the world? So the funny thing is when it comes to college football, me being a Gator and the boys are Ohio State. And if you remember many years ago, national championship, we whooped their tail. And they're still a little sour about it.
Ouch. Ouch.
Yeah,
A little bit.
a little bit. I know every time I go to Ohio, I always bring some kind of Florida Gator stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah,
The real people know.
yes.
The real people know.
You
Yeah.
probably will say that we cheated somehow. I don't know. But anyways, Olivia, so tell us a little bit about yourself from the very beginning of why you went into law enforcement, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, my family, we were very close. Just like any family, we have problems within it. I've had family members hooked on drugs and poverty and kind of struggled within life. And, us as a family kind of stuck together and kind of supported them at the same time. I had a friend who unfortunately was killed in a drunk driving incident when I was in high school. So that kind of opened up my eye. Never thought I would have went into law enforcement. Actually started in the medical field, went through CNA school in high school, went to EMT school, and I was like, this isn't for me. And one of my friends, a state trooper, he asked if I wanted to do a ride along with him. Didn't necessarily care for that side of it. No offense to my trooper friends. But then I had the opportunity to ride with a sheriff deputy, and I loved it. I loved being in the community. I loved, hearing about people's problems and being able to relate. And he said, why don't you go to the academy? And I was like, female at 19 years old going to the academy? I don't know. And he was my biggest support system. So I said, you know what? I put in my application. I'm just going to do it. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
So now you started, because I remember talking about this, you started really young, like you weren't even 21 yet.
No, hiring process when I was 20, and I just turned 21 as I was hired.
Okay.
Good job.
So did you do what normal stuff out there? You started at the jail, then you go into more stuff.
No,
How did that work?
straight to the road.
Straight to the road?
Straight to the road.
Nice.
I was the base of the department.
Nice.
So, and I remember years ago, 20 something years ago, when I was just starting out, we had a young lady. She was just 21 years old when she started. Matter of fact, she was 20 in the academy. She graduated because you had to graduate before you turned 21. Or something, you had to be 21 when you swore in and everything.
Right.
And I remember her being the baby of the department because when I started, I was already in my mid-20s and she was just a baby. And the struggle that she had to deal with being young, being female, did you have any similar to that?
Yes and no. I think my background of growing up kind of helped me relate to a lot of the issues with the people that I was dealing with. So that kind of helped. I think my struggle was just being young in general, and here I'm giving grown adults advice and telling them what to do.
Yes.
And it really took me being a strong female to be able to control a scene and not necessarily, when a big bulky guy shows up on the scene, they just stop and listen to him. Here I am, I'm a 5'2", short female. I had to really learn how to talk to people and talk my way out of dangerous situations. And I really got more compliance with how I talk to people And eventually I earned my respect, which respect is not given in law enforcement.
No.
Have to earn your way. And as a female, I was one of the very few on the road. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of proactive females. And I busted my ass. I was out there every day. I was making arrests. I was handling calls by myself. I didn't wait for backup. And eventually, I just earned the respect of the people that I worked with.
That's awesome.
Now, when you I know that's kind of a small town where you're at, but do you find yourself, you've been doing this for about 9 years now, do you find yourself running into the same people that you've been dealing with for years, and you build a rapport with them, even though they're on the wrong side of the law, or they're making some bad decisions? Does it make it easier, or do you get burned out because of that?
A little bit of both. There are definitely a lot of people that I've dealt with constantly for the last 9 years. But what I've found is how I treated them in the past has helped me now that I am an investigator, because they still are doing these criminal activities. Now I'm investigating them, and I have to get a confession, and they remember how I treated them back in the day. So I do have that respect, and they also have a point where they know not to cross a certain line, not to disrespect me or, get aggressive with me.
Right.
But it does get burnt out. You see the same people every day. We talk about their life struggles and trying to get out of addiction. And, I ask them all the time, when are you going to stop going to prison? Or when are you going to get clean? And they just say, Miss Roberts or Deputy Roberts, I'm trying, but it's hard.
Right.
I do get burnt out seeing the same people. It's sad to see that, unfortunately, their life hasn't changed.
Yeah, I can tell you that, dealing with folks with the addiction, especially with this heroin, that's just rampant through our country. It is difficult to watch people, like you see the video or the picture of when they first got arrested, and then like when you're talking to them, you say, "Hey, look, I've been dealing with you for 4 or 5 years. This was your very first booking picture, and look at your booking picture now."
Yeah.
And it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And then when they're in jail for a while, they get healthy.
Yeah, I think the part is when as a child, and they just grew up in that lifestyle, and now here they are as teenagers, early 20s, and they're making grown decisions, and I have to put them in jail. When I knew them at 8 years old, 10, 12, and they weren't to that level yet.
Right.
That's a problem in the court system too, as I see the sentencing part, and judges, they look at the history and they see the extensiveness of it.
Absolutely.
And I have judges that are like, oh my God, this is the most egregious rap sheet I've ever seen. And they say, I'm done giving you chances. So somebody that started out, even regardless of circumstances or how they grew up, like at some point the judges have to say, we're no longer giving you a chance, and this is what we have to do, and it's prison.
And some of them weren't into that life, and I feel like they just really didn't have a chance to be a decent person. They weren't the life lessons that some people are fortunate to.
Yeah. Nope.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Sure.
Okay, so say I'm having a problem. I'm somewhere, and I call 911. How's it determine who's going to come to me? Like a deputy, a police officer that's like on the district, or like you said, a highway patrolman. Like how are you guys all divvied up? Where's your jurisdiction? I really don't know these kind of things.
It's your location.
So a deputy.
How it works here is if you call 911, it automatically goes to our 911 dispatch, was kind of associated with the sheriff's office. And so if you need a medical call, you need a state trooper because of a car accident, or a domestic, and you need law enforcement, that's how they kind of determine that. Now, if a crime is being committed or you need law enforcement and you're in the city limits, our dispatch, if you call 911, will transfer you to the city dispatch, unless you just call the city, the non-emergency line.
I mean,
everybody has their own section.
Correct.
So every officer, every detective, every law enforcement person has their own district and own area they're supposed to respond to.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
just want to know. I just want to know who I can do shit in front of. Like, that's
Yeah.
the reason I really wanted to know.
Figure out who your responding officers will be and get to be friends with them.
Right.
I see.
We joke.
I was just seeing if I could, like, if I'm like speeding by a deputy and I'm like in a place where there's a jurisdiction, like, can I just like kind of drive by and be like, hey man, you can't pull me over, bro. This isn't.
Oh
your
no.
We seriously joke. Like I've joked, and there's like people in my department that have joked, like, "Oh my God, don't ever let me die in my section because I don't want that detective investigating my death in my nude body." Like I know you too well to investigate my dead body. I'm sorry. Don't please send somebody else. But yeah, we joke all the time. Like we know who's assigned to our section of the area, and we don't want them coming.
Well, that's like in healthcare when you're like
naked body. Is that what it is? You don't want them to see your naked body?
No,
is that what it is? Yeah, no, I get it.
Pictures of it and then spread it all the department and other agencies. No.
Well, that's the same thing in healthcare. Where like when you're just if you're about to get surgery, you're like, who do I want putting a Foley in me?
No.
Yeah.
Because I got to work with these people again. So which one of these people do I want to be lubing me up and sticking a tube in me?
Yeah.
Remember when I hit on my surgeon's husband?
No.
Yeah, don't do that.
What happened?
Okay, so I had to get a gallbladder surgery, and I worked in the ER at the time, and the ER doc that I worked with was the husband of a surgeon, and we were at a emergency department Christmas party, and I was a little intoxicated, and the surgeon was there, and her husband, who's a emergency room doctor, and he said, "Oh, you want to come over to the hot tub?" And I'm like, "Ooh, is Dr. so-and-so going to be there who's a surgeon?" And he's like, "She's right there." And I'm like, "Oh shit." And then like a year later, she had to perform a gallbladder surgery on me. And I'm like, "She probably spit in my wound." Do that. It's that same concept. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
Well, that's like I'm getting, I'm doing the Rooter the Tutor exam in March.
Yes.
Right. And Kim's been on me because she wants me to use her team.
Yeah.
And I refuse. So the compromise is that she has found me a doctor that she's worked with that doesn't work in her network, and I'm going to go see him because I can't be at a Christmas party.
Yes, you can.
And someone's like, "Hey, I've seen your booty hole." I can't do that.
If you do that, if you do it, then you make it super awkward the rest of the night. You give them winks and shit. Like you sit down next to them and you just like gently caress their hand as you're looking in the eye. You just make it really awkward, man.
It's like, you remember the last time you touched me? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do it.
This time I'm not going to be so forgetful.
Yeah.
It's the same Rooter Tutor that they saw an hour ago.
It is. It truly is, man. I really couldn't distinguish any body part that I've ever seen in my.
Who cares? I've seen one penis. I've seen 1,000. Who cares?
Exactly.
Wait, is that true?
Sorry, Liv. We've taken this way off course here,
How
but
many tubes I've stuck in a penis?
All the time.
Bobby,
did I just black out? I think I just blacked out.
5 times a day in an ER, Bobby. Are you kidding me?
Oh.
Right? Is that true?
Yeah, you have to.
Yes,
exactly. In an ER, you're constantly putting holes in.
I've stuck multiple tubes in penises. I don't care what your penis looks like.
There's not a hole that I've not stuck a tube in at this point.
Exactly. Who cares?
Or a needle or something, man. I've been very invasive. I've been very, very invasive. God's gonna look really hard at me.
Let it be. It's gross. We'll move on.
How we went from how calls get taken into
Exactly.
Because we're a family of misfits.
Yeah,
let's get back on track here.
We're all black sheep in this family.
All around. It's a family of misfits. It's fine.
So,
where? Go, TJ.
Oh, yeah. Can I have a question.
Segue to that. Segue from that.
I have a question. And this is much more serious than penis holes. So, since we have a couple officers in here with us, I'm just curious, when you see something that happens like in Memphis recently,
oh boy,
how does that affect you taking two steps forward? It sounds like Liv and TJ, I know you both do it, that you guys are, kind of in the community, doing the best you can. and then this kind of shit happens in Memphis.
Right.
How, so 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. How are you affected by that in any way, for one, on the streets?
Go ahead,
And then
Olivia.
for
I'll let
two-
you go
two,
first.
how do you get past that and, try to explain to everybody that not all police are bad, kind of thing?
So in my opinion, in different situations, but it affects law enforcement all over the country. Nowadays you have social media, you have the news media, you have cell phones. I mean, there's all kinds of resources out there that will post it, and then you have people that have their opinions and negative comments, which rightfully so. Right is right and wrong is wrong. But it affects the good officers who are out there every day that tries to make a difference. But when you have somebody who is disrespectful and doing criminal acts, because that's what it was, it makes us look bad. It makes people not want to trust us. It makes people not want to stop for law enforcement or want to get violent with law enforcement. They say they're in fear for their lives, which some of them have been, is rightfully so. So now, instead of meeting somebody off the street and having that rapport, now they're scared, or they feel some type of way. They're angry. They want to talk about it, but they don't know how to voice their opinion in a calmly manner. So now it becomes almost hateful towards law enforcement, which puts everybody's lives at risk between cops and civilians at that point.
Right.
Me and Olivia talked about this before the show, and we were like, we're going to discuss this briefly. But I will say that, I watched the videos Friday night as soon as it was available to watch. And, and I'm looking at the video, trying to see anything that would indicate this young man to not what he deserved, but to see how the hell did we go from a reckless driving to what we saw unfold.
Right.
And there was nothing, because there's a lot of people that can go on Monday morning and say, well, this happened, or this one was just plain out bad people that this kid. One, we have this thing where when we arrest someone, we take control of them. They, at the very beginning of this incident, they never had control of this young man. They never had proper control of him. They let him get up and run. I've never seen that in 23 years of my job. I've never seen anybody be on the ground with 4 or 5 people, get up off the ground and run. So right there was that first encounter was like poor training and poor judgment.
But have you seen the list on that? Have you seen the list about?
Right. On the second encounter was straight violence. Right. There was nothing. As soon as they got there and started doing what they were doing, and watching how they kicked him several times, they were punching him several times, and all these guys were 240 pounds of meat, and this kid was 150 pounds, soaking wet. There was a lot of things that people were hearing in the audio about, let me see your hands, and then they were trying to tell their watch commander, oh, he was trying to reach for my gun. I don't believe that whatsoever. I think they were mad that this kid ran.
Yeah. Well,
I think they were.
That he was the ex-boyfriend.
Well, see, that hasn't been confirmed yet.
Well, it hasn't been confirmed, but do you believe those stories that he?
Well, I believe them, but it hasn't been confirmed yet.
People have actually said they saw a flash where there was an officer taking a picture, and they didn't understand why, and now they do. So, do you believe that that's a possibility, that he was like that police officer?
I would say that, yeah. I would say that's a possibility for the simple reason that looked personal. That did not look, that was rage. That was just, and when you first watch the video, you're like, okay, the one that yanked him out on a reckless driving, they put him at gunpoint at reckless driving. I don't know about the state of Tennessee, but the state of Virginia, that's a class 1 misdemeanor. That's a walk up to the car and say, "Hey, buddy, you know,
Yeah.
you were swerving on the road, or you were going fast."
Yeah.
It's not, let's yank this young man out of a car, put him on the ground, cuss at him, and mistreat him.
Yeah.
So that entire incident,
all these things.
yeah, that entire incident was horrible. Now, on the, what does it do to us, the ones that are working in law enforcement, the ones that put on the uniform, and I get in my SUV every morning that's got all the markings on it, and I drive to the office. What does it do to us? It puts us at danger. It makes the community not trust us. And the only thing we can do is to reassure our communities that, hey, we went into this line of work for the right reasons. We're here to serve you. At the beginning of the day, I say, hey, I want to go home in the same spot. And I care about my community. Even the ones that are breaking the law, I still care about their well-being. So
they're human beings. Yeah.
they're just people make mistakes in life, and you just happen to be to see them in their worst time.
Yeah.
You know, people have bad days, or they're going through this series of bad decisions, and yes, we have people that are murderers and rapists and pedophiles and all these folks that they need to be in prison for a very long time. But you have your average person that might have a drug addiction. And everyone knows most of the things that go on now are drug addictions. And that's why they commit crimes.
Yeah.
But it really, I mean, I was in tears watching this. I'm a grown man. I'm 210 pounds, and I was in tears because I saw what they did to that poor young man.
Yeah.
And I feel for his, I watched an interview with his mother before the video was released.
Mm-hmm.
And she says she couldn't watch the video, but they told her how horrible it was. And I honestly think if that sky cam wasn't there, these guys would have got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because on their body cams, you could barely see what was going on. You couldn't see the haymakers. All I know is I don't know how many times they can pepper spray and tase a dude, but their deployment was horrible.
When you're crying for your mom,
Yeah.
like that's what touches my heart. Like he screamed for his mom multiple times.
Well, wasn't he like 3 doors down?
Yeah.
3 doors down from his house.
Yeah.
Like he's screaming for his mom.
So what I'm hearing now, and of course it's not confirmed, but that this wasn't a traffic violation turned ugly. This was a lynching, more or less.
Well,
Find this kid, beat his ass.
The couple things that make sense about this, Bobby, is that the Scorpion unit, their assignment is like in very crime-rooted neighborhoods.
Yeah, they're made to be big, bad, fucking tough like officers that are gonna kick your ass.
Yeah, but they were in the wrong neighborhood.
Exactly.
This neighborhood they were in was not a crime-stricken, drug-related neighborhood. This was suburbia.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't supposed to be on that side of town anyway. Right. So it's kind of like taking your vice or narcotics unit and saying, "Hey, let's put you in Beverly Hills and where everyone is rich and don't have this problem.
Yeah,
let's put you right there in the gated community and drive around." That's what it was equivalent to.
That would be the best place for the vice drug unit.
Well, probably so.
Hey, Liv, real quick. How often do people, because we're talking about mistrust of the police force and things, how often when you pull somebody over, do they break their freaking camera phone out on you?
When I started, not that often. Now it's almost every other vehicle.
And what is that? How does that change your attitude towards, like, I mean, does it kind of like put you a little more pissed off on the scale? Like, I'm gonna have to handle this. I handle this a little bit differently because I know. I know, but it's a little different when it's a little different if it's just a body cam and all it's doing is record. They're almost gaslighting you on the telephone. You know, when they have a telephone camera on, it's almost like a gaslighting incident.
Because, like she said, you're on body camera. I'm not trying to hide anything. I have a job to do. I don't care if you record me. The biggest issue I have is when they're live streaming.
Yeah.
And calling for people to show up on the scene. At that point, now I don't know if they're calling somebody to come harm me. It just makes the situation a lot worse than if you were just to video me, because at the end of the day, I'm going to do my job and I'm going to treat you with respect. If you get out of hand, then I have a job to do. But I'm fairly confident in how I handle situations. I'll explain to you why I'm pulling you over. I'll explain to you what's going to happen. If you have warrants, I'm not going to tell you right then and there, but as soon as you're in handcuffs, just because of safety, I'm going to tell you what's going on. If you want me to talk to your mom on the phone, I have no problem with that. But when you're streamlining it on Instagram or on Facebook or TikTok, you're now creating a bigger problem than what it actually is.
Yeah.
And at that point, everybody's at risk. You're at risk. I'm at risk. The civilians are at risk. All it takes is for one person to feel some type of way about law enforcement and wants to retaliate. So in my eyes, it just causes more problems. But I understand why some of them do it. Some of them do it because they want that negative response, and some of them want it because of their safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're being advised to do it, by the way. I mean, it's not like
I get it.
they do it for fun. But even lawyers are saying, hey, live stream.
Yeah,
and then you say, well, why live stream? Well, you
Mhm.
live stream because your camera can't be deleted. Body cam footage can't be deleted. It's out there.
No, it
And
can't.
whatever happens.
Like officers don't have the ability to edit at all.
No.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they don't. I mean, I'm sure they don't.
Yeah, we download it to the cloud basically for
No, I
But
mean,
there
our
have
body
been
cams get
cases-
downloaded, and
I work with the
that's
prosecutor. I'm in the prosecutor's office, and they are not allowed to touch their body cams.
Absolutely.
But there has been plenty of cases that body cam footage is just
It's
gone.
all true. It's all live.
So I mean, it's all us as white people, and I'll go there. We don't worry about that kind of stuff. But man, you grow up in these communities where, they're raised to hate the police. Their whole lives have been disrupted by police. It's like we're living in two different worlds. I mean, it's really it's easy.
Well, it was something you
here.
said kind of caught my ear, Bobby, because I mean, yeah, you can spin it that way. Their lives have been disrupted by the police, but their lives have really been disrupted by their families who are causing the police to end their lives.
But I'm saying through their eyes. This is what
their eyes. That's just
this is what they see.
Yeah.
So
I will tell you this, that I've done a lot of community outreach, and one of the biggest things about community outreach or whatever you want to call it in your city or county, but you're basically trying to build a trust, a relationship with your community, with the kids and everything else. So when you're out there giving out coloring books to the kids, you're talking to the kids. I do the security for basketball games. So we have teenagers that were at middle school age all the way up to high school. So we have the opportunity to talk to these kids before we have to talk to them on the street or some type of interaction that they might have later. So it's really about bridging the community together to help that trust.
Yeah.
Because people are going to break the law. We get that.
Yeah.
But if you break the law, then we deal with it. You might have to go to jail. You might not have to go to jail, but we're going to treat you with respect, treat you like a human being. But we have to do that through these community projects.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm real big into that.
TJ. I can guarantee you, TJ, that if you're handing out dare coloring books to teenagers, they're using them as rolling papers. Just to get them.
Teenagers, yeah, but not the little kids. Well, I hope not the little kids.
Hey, Liv,
Yes.
Liv, I'm gonna girl.
Okay.
Okay. So I grew up with all brothers. I went into the military, and I was part of a predominantly male unit in the military. So I know about the male dominance in these kind of things.
Right.
How do you feel about the call out of the female officer out of Nashville?
Great question, Vicky.
I'm sorry, TJ, but like as a female,
No, I get it.
Because like that shit is crazy.
Right.
Wait, the call out. What's
that
this?
light on females in male dominated professions.
Right.
And it makes how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Like, she's destroyed 12% of her department.
Right.
Like,
Oh,
ultimately, like, I mean, you and I both know from being in this situation we've been in, like, yeah, you've been sexually harassed. Yeah, you've heard it. Yeah, you've dealt with shit. But how do you feel about that coming out in the media and coming out in like that? Just tell me.
It's hard being a female in a male dominant field, military, law enforcement. We have to earn our respect compared to a male just enters, they automatically have it. So
Yeah.
it makes the females look bad. However, there's two sides because it wasn't just her doing the acts. It was
Right. Oh, thank you. Yes.
so
Thank
if
you.
the guys are getting a high five, the girl is getting downgraded, but they all did the same thing.
Thank you.
However, as a female in law, you're held to a higher standard because you have to earn that. And
You have
so,
to earn it for nothing. Nobody. Yeah.
exactly. So it makes it harder for females in law enforcement across the world. And now these new females who are coming in as brand new, and they're just unfortunately in this situation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What advice would you give as a female in law enforcement to these new people or new females that are dealing with the male dominated field or dealing with sexual harassment in the field? What would you advise them to do? What would you say to them?
So I also teach the law enforcement academy, and I like to give my female aspect into law enforcement about everything. My advice, it is very hard. However, these are people that you see and work with every day, and you build bonds and relationships because you're with them more than your family.
Yes.
You are part of more stressful and violent situations together that your family is not a part of. We automatically migrate towards each other and we build that bond. However, all it takes is for one time for you to hook up with somebody in your agency or date somebody in your agency. As you as a female, you're automatically labeled as that girl or that woman.
Yeah.
And it's hard. You have to learn how to separate your work life and your personal life. That's all I can say. You have to
Oh, no, that's great. I mean, it's not easy, is it?
It's not.
It's not, because males automatically feel one way. And when a female's in there, they feel like they can do certain things and it's not always okay. And it's
Right.
hard to be the bigger person to say, hey, no, no, I'm not going to accept that, because then you feel like you're not part of that brotherhood anymore. You're not part of that fraternity. You're not part of the military or the police ordinance. You're not part of that brotherhood, and that's all you're trying to be, and trying to be equal.
I think the biggest thing too is for me, like when I was on shift, it was me and all guys. That's it.
Yeah.
On each shift. And we're together all the time. We have group chats, you form these bonds, everybody wants to go to dinner, have a shift. And other people have
Mike Lindell.
they are
Mike Lindell is very open about the
talking to their husbands or their boyfriends, and they have that connection, and it already puts a target on your back, even if
it does.
So it's hard. Something I had to learn was separate my life and my work life. I quit shift parties. I quit going out, having a couple of drinks with the guys, because it does cause problems. It causes drama, rumors. You could be the most innocent person, but it's not that way.
And that's the sad part. Like, even today, I had an experience where I have a trial next week, and I was texting the detective about, how are we going to meet for prep and all this stuff. And his fiance was like, don't text him.
Yep.
I'm a girl. And I'm like, dude, we're just all trying to work for the betterment of this freaking trial. Like, I have nothing to do with your fiance. And like, just because I'm a female, I'm not allowed to text you to try to figure out how we can make this, like, it's sad. It's sad that like there are female, I've just dealt with it my whole life. So I get it. And
it's sad, but at the same time, I have a bond and connections with the guys I work. We've seen
absolutely, you have to.
Right. And the guys have opened up emotionally to me. We've confided in each other. When they go home, they might not want to talk. And so now they're like, well, you're talking with her. You won't talk to me about it. And it just makes the situation harder than what it really needs to be.
You're right. You're right. Because sometimes you can never connect with the person that doesn't understand.
Correct.
And you're not going to talk to them when
Right.
they don't understand. And when you're not in that situation, you just, I can tell you so much, but you're not going to get it. Like, that's just it. Bottom line.
In a normal job, we work in dangerous setting, and it's hard. You have to have a bond with your coworkers. You have to have that trust, that love. You're my
100%. Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's hard as a female.
Yeah.
Bottom line. Sorry, boys.
No, I have the exact opposite. I'm a male in a predominantly female profession, and I've often wondered how many of these women do I have to sleep with to lose a little respect around here.
Right. Brian, it's tough being a stripper, Brian. It's tough being a stripper, buddy.
Like, what's the number? 7, 8? I don't know what the number is. I'm willing to find out.
13.
I'm just playing.
Jesus. So, you know, and being in law enforcement.
What's your opinion?
Huh?
I said you're in law enforcement. What's your opinion?
Yeah, what's your opinion?
You know, I had a female partner for about 8 years in my career. We were very professional, but at the same time, we were friends.
Right.
And she became like a baby sister to me.
Yes.
I wanted to keep her safe. And the only thing that I can see that I was probably not good at is if we were in a situation where somebody was trying to get stupid or something like that with her, I got very protective.
Yeah.
Right.
And to this day, she's been in the department for 16 years, where there was an incident a while back and she was involved in, and I found out about it through the grapevine, and I was furious about it. And I just had to breathe. And then I called her and I was like, hey, are you good? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. So, but that's where I have the problem with, because I want to be overprotective.
Well, that's why they won't let us in the military on the front lines. It's because men are so protective of
we are. They've always said.
I don't dispute that. I just say that's why, like, as a combat medic, like, they wanted me on the front line. They're like, oh, you're gonna have to go, but oh no, we can't put you on the very front because men will be overprotective of you because you're a female. And I get it. I do get it. And I don't know what to say about it, but I get it.
And you know, we tried it, and I've throttled back a little bit about it. I have just said, okay, you know, our female deputies have the same training as we do, and they're badasses just like we are.
Right.
And it got to the point where I'm just like, all right, well, I got your back just like I'd have the back of a male deputy. If they're getting the upper hand, I'm going to assist you. We're going to do it as a team. But it is very difficult because you see that and you're like, whoa, you know, like, especially when they talk to, someone talks to them a certain way. You're like, hey, man, don't talk to a woman like that. And you're like, whoa, I got to throttle back because she's my equal. It has nothing to do with being sexist. It doesn't have anything to do with being an alpha male. It's just I was raised Southern gentleman. That's how I was raised. I take care of.
Yeah. Right. No, that's our generation, and I mean, I don't know how to combat that, or if we should combat that.
Yeah.
Because there are. I mean, I'm a female, and I'll tell you firsthand. There's things I can't do that a man can.
Correct.
So I don't ever want to dispute that as a fact, just because I know it's true.
Right.
I've tried, and I'm not as successful.
Well, I will tell you, I don't know if she'll watch this, but I do have a female on my team now, and she is a badass. She holds her own just like we do. She'll get the job done, and we never have to worry about her.
Good for her.
So she's the same age as you, Olivia. She's been with us for, I think, guys, probably about 8 years, 9 years that she's been with us. She came very young age too. So we've kind of watched her grow up, and she just joined my team like a year ago, or less than a year ago. She's a badass. We're happy.
Don't mess with me.
Liv and Becky, is that offensive to you guys? Where like if a guy is very protective, because obviously military enforcement background, you guys are kind of badasses. Is it offensive when a guy's like trying to protect you, or are you guys kind of like chill out? I got this. Yeah.
To a point, because like, as I told you guys in the last couple of podcasts we've done, it's like I'll put myself in danger when I shouldn't. And I don't care if it's a male or female. Like if somebody's aggressive, I'm going to jump in. I don't care if they're going to hit me. I don't care if they're going to kick me. I don't give a shit. I'm a girl, but I'm going to take it. But at the same time, there's certain situations when a male probably should take over and deal with the situation. But it's hit and miss, I guess. For me, because I know there's things, I know my limitations, and anybody should know their limitations, and granted, I probably put myself in situations I shouldn't be in, but I'm going to do it until somebody jumps in and helps me. That's my perspective. What do you think, Liv?
I think it honestly just comes down to you and your partners and knowing what each other can handle, because when I first started, absolutely, if somebody raised their voice, they would jump in. But as I earn my respect and they see that I handle myself, I can get more feisty than some of the guys.
Yes.
And they know there's a certain point that I can't, but for the most part, they don't overstep me, because it's not a disrespectful thing. But if I'm dealing with a suspect who's getting mouthy and lippy with me and I don't handle it, but my partner does, then time I'm by myself, they're going to try and take advantage of that. So my partners in the past, they know I don't put up with nothing. You're not going to disrespect me. If you want to yell and scream, I'm going to say, I can't help you. If there comes a point in time where I have to take control, my partners trust me. Now, when it becomes to the point where a grown man is going to be physical, absolutely, me and my partners will kind of intervene together. But they never have overstepped from, I guess, their authority, their masculine. They've never overstepped.
Right. And Bobby, I also think that, and it's all about delivery too, because if you're a male officer and you say to your female counterpart, don't worry about it, little darling, I got this, then it becomes a problem. You know what I mean? But if you're just like, hey, because we are a brother and sisterhood, so it's like, hey, you're my sister. I ain't gonna let nobody. I'm not gonna let anybody hit you. I'm not gonna let anybody touch you.
Right.
That there's a difference. But I will say, before I got in this line of work, that's exactly how it was. They would say, "Hey, little darling, I got this. Don't you worry about it." And that was a terrible thing to do, and a very disservice to our female counterparts.
Yeah.
Because
I can't tell you how many times everybody in the military was like, "Oh, people are going to eat you up because you're so sensitive," and I'm like, "Okay."
Did you have to tell them that you were a Stevens and that wasn't going to happen?
I was like, "F you," and I'm going to do my thing, and then everybody was like on board with what I was doing. So I never had a problem. I never had a problem with males, even though I was the only female in there. I never had a problem with them because
way back,
I just handled it.
Way back in the day, like 30
me,
years ago, in my county, female deputies, I don't remember what they called them, but they wore a skirt.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ouch.
This was probably 40 years ago because I've been doing it
Ew.
for 23 years.
That's dumb.
But somebody was telling me some stories about it. There was this lady I worked with, and she was about to retire. She had like 2 years left when I first started. And she's like, yeah, when I first started, we wore skirts. I'm like, what? How did you do your job in a skirt? She goes, well, that's just what our uniform was. And I was blown away from that. I was just like, what?
Yeah, that's
So,
dumb.
yeah, I mean, I think the Army the military allows females to wear a skirt in their dress uniform.
Yeah, I never had to wear a skirt.
You never had to do it, right? I've seen a couple of them, but most of the time,
Yeah, I never.
all my
wore a
female
skirt.
soldiers wear the pants.
Yeah, I wear pants all the time.
I don't even know if they make them blues. I know they had them in green.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I never even had a dress in any uniform. Even in my bookings, I never had a skirt. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Sorry, but fuck that. I wasn't wearing a skirt.
I'll say one thing with the female and the male side is I find it easier being a female because another grown man doesn't want another man telling him what to do. However, they were raised to respect their mom, their grandma, their sisters, and
Yes.
a better communication than some of the guys.
Yes.
So a lot of times I can actually calm somebody down compared to if one of my guy partners try to talk to them.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they feel threatened by a male telling them what to do.
Exactly.
If you have a female who's like your sister, your mom, your cousin, your aunt, yeah, that's so much better. They really respond better to females a lot of times. And Brian can tell you that from working on even mental health units. Like they respond to so much better females.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look at guys right off the bat as that
It's a
they
threat.
have to overpower them.
Yeah, it's a threat.
ERs too, like you'd have a drunk dude and they'd zone right in on the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's a threat, and they're gonna overpower them because they want to be bigger and better and badder and stronger.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
Bobby's like, Bobby's learning so much tonight.
Yeah, I always do. I always do. I just.
Do you want to tell the young viewers what you're holding in your hand there, Bobby?
What is that?
Oh, this is a pencil. Is
Yeah.
that what you meant?
What? A pencil? What is that? Did you sharpen it?
I mean, do you guys not use pencils?
Is
I
that
do, but I'm saying for the younger viewers.
It's a number 2. It's a
In
number
next
2.
episode, we're going to talk about how to use
I
a
think it's standardized American test with that pencil.
do you have the
Yeah.
Good
old
for you.
sharpener?
Yeah, the old
Well-
school. I gotta sharpen it. What is that?
Oh,
No,
the electric.
Is that on your
Yeah,
iPhone?
sorry.
the
Yeah,
electric.
that's my iPhone. Yeah,
Sweet,
it's
dude.
sweet, huh? The reason I asked the question and the reason I find it interesting is because, that protection instinct is very primal in men, and I can imagine as a man partner, as a male partner, and your female is getting kind of shit from whoever you're talking to. I could see where that could go sideways quickly because there's this primal like caveman feel of
It really is
of
always going
honor.
to, even if you can handle it or not. It's truly always going to. I really believe that. It's always going to.
It's always going to what? I missed the first part.
Go into the primal, like you said,
Yeah.
the female, the male. It's always going to go the primal route.
Absolutely.
If you have a female who's getting beat down, a male's going to take over and beat the shit out of somebody who's doing it. Like, it doesn't matter what profession you're in. Like, that's the male instinct that our generation has. I don't know. I can't say it for future generations, but our generation definitely, it's just ingrained, and it's going to happen.
But
Well,
I
it's not a generational thing because it's primal. So sorry, Liv.
No, you're right.
I was trying to arrest their brother, their uncle, their dad, and they start getting mouthy or physical with me, just resisting. And I've had their male family members stop them and say, "Hey, female, we don't treat them that way."
Right.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes hand to hand.
Yeah.
So wait, are you telling me chivalry is not dead?
Well, she
There
lives
is
in the
some-
South, buddy.
It's getting
It's like
close,
on
right?
life support.
On
but
life
it's
support,
not
yeah,
completely
on life
dead.
support, buddy.
It's
Yeah.
a little bit on life support. We're like at a good, like, I don't know, life support system.
Wow.
But whose fault's that? That's my fault as a parent to two boys. You know, that's your
No.
fault, Becky. Yeah.
Oh, my kid's gonna be chivalrous to the end because he loves his
Yeah,
mom.
my son opens the car door for his girlfriend. I see him do it all
That's
the time.
right.
There you go.
Like,
But my point
kid
is,
gonna be like the best damn husband because I make him love me.
right. But I think
He-
that's where it starts, is my point.
It does. It
starts in the
starts at home.
family. Yeah, it
Mhm.
starts at home. You gotta, you know,
My kid sees his mom as not as a lower being, but as a power.
Right.
And I'm like his person to talk to, person to invite in, his person to communicate with. I mean, there's nothing we don't talk about. So his respect for me comes from my respect for him.
mhm.
Like, I respect him, he respects me. So I have no doubts he's going to be like a freaking awesome husband.
Well, chivalry may also be dead because one time I was on a bus I was on a bus in San Francisco after Outside Lands, and this probably like 65-year-old lady gets on the bus, a very crowded bus, and I get up out of my seat, and this lady was pissed and screaming at me for getting up.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So, and so you
know.
never know. You're like, oh well,
You
should I
never
get
know
up?
if people are going to care. Like, some
offended
people
by
are
the
like,
fact
you're an
that I'm getting
asshole
up.
for not getting up for that 65-year-old frail woman. And then some people are like, why are you doing that? You don't think she can handle it? Like, you just
Yeah, she was
don't
like,
know.
is it because I'm an old or because I'm a woman? I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. Is it
I don't
just-
know.
yeah.
It's both,
It's
man.
both.
Take
Is that
your pick.
right?
I mean,
Right.
it was both. Yeah, exactly. But I guess I'll
Or,
sit back
you know,
down
when-
now since you're screaming
Yeah,
at me.
you should have sat
My
down and
only
asked her to sit on your
job
lap.
as a parent, my only job
There's
as a
a
parent is to make my kid smart, educated, worldly, whatever, but also to be the best husband, father, person he can be in the world.
Right.
Like, that's my job as a parent. Like, he's gonna respect people regardless. Like, that should be every parent's job, to
Right.
make their kids just be the best person they can be.
And it's not even a hard job. You just
It's
practice
not.
what you preach. You go out in public and you treat people with respect in public, and then your
That's
kids
what
will
you
treat people with
have to
respect
do.
in public,
It's
you know?
not
It's like,
taught.
watch me.
It's not taught these days.
It's
Yeah.
not, but it's just like, watch what I do and like love people around. Like, don't try to change people, but love them for where they are. That's all we can do. Honestly, I don't even. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask this question. Out of all the things that you've done in your career so far, because you're still early in your career, and I commend you.
Here's
One,
big deal.
I commend you for being in this line of work.
Yes.
I commend you that you're still continuing, because a lot of people jump ship. What is the funnest thing you've done so far?
Funnest or what?
What's the most rewarding thing you've done?
If you would have asked me a few years ago, I would absolutely say drug work. I had a passion, but it came from my childhood and knowing people with addiction. My goal wasn't necessarily to put everybody in jail, but to help them get sober or go after the bigger players. Now, fast forward, my job is I'm over the sex offender and predator unit. I also deal with crimes against children, and unfortunately, there is a lot more crimes against kids than this world even can think of, and they really don't know what's happening around them. And for me, I get more satisfaction of solving a case that has harmed a child and giving them the justice that they deserve, compared to going out and arresting the same people that are on drugs, the same people that go out and steal things every day to support their habits, or domestic violence. All of those are very important, but to harm a child, it's just something that I just can't fathom.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah,
We need more people like you, Liv.
Yeah,
crimes against children.
No, it's it's a terrible but great job at the same time. You see a lot of messed up things that I will have to deal with for the rest of my life that I never forget.
You should never have to see. You should never have to see the things that you see.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't feel bad, Liv, if in 2 years you had to go on unemployment.
But then
Because that went away. You just switched jobs. But I'm saying it would. That's the one job you're like. That's the one thing that I hope goes away. Like,
Here's
you know,
the thing. Here's the thing. Can we all move to Costa Rica and live off all of our salaries for the rest of our lives in a commune?
well, I don't know if you want to live off my salary because I
No,
don't.
no. We'll put it all together. We'll take Brian's,
Oh,
Bobby,
Lord.
TJ's. We'll live in a commune where no harm, no foul, and we're gonna just forget the life that's all around us because it makes us crazy. Yeah. I got one. Yeah. All right. Whatever.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
I'm too poor. I can't afford Costa
You guys,
Rica.
we can totally do it. Olivia's coming. We're going. Come on.
Who knows how to, we all know how to hunt and fish.
That's all
Yeah.
we need.
We know how to plant
That's it. I
things.
can build we're not
We
a
got
building
medical
right now.
treatment. We got protection. We're good, right?
We're totally good. You guys have guns. We're fine. Just come on. Don't go through them. Come
Oh,
on.
well. You know, I keep joking around about win the lottery and
Mhm.
then buy a whole bunch of land and put family on.
You don't need a whole lot.
Shoot, you need a whole lot of. You gotta have something.
you need a perimeter.
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
So we have a guy coming on the show in a couple weeks that owns 20 acres of land, and he puts tiny houses on it.
Yeah, we're gonna live
And
there. We're gonna
yeah,
live there.
that's
you coming?
that might work.
I'm on the way.
All right,
Yeah.
let's go. We're all going. We're all going to live, and then we'll have a garden. We'll have chickens.
What kind of state? What state are we living in, Becky? What state are we going to live in?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't
Oh,
matter.
we can't do the cold.
And that has
Right.
water because I'm a water baby. I got to be on the water.
Okay,
Yeah, I could do water.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the United States. We can go to some other. We can buy an island.
Georgia, on the we can find some land that can have cows and chickens and such, and we're gonna be fine. We've got this all planned out. We're fine.
Yeah, it sounds very planned out.
Yeah, it does sound planned out. You know,
We're closing out all your accounts and come on in. Put your 2 weeks notice in. We got this.
God.
Nobody's on board but me. What the hell?
yeah,
Dakota's on board. Did you hear her? She said yes.
Yeah, she's
I
in.
hear you. So I'm going to ask one more question because I know we got to wrap this up.
Yeah, B-Ray has to go.
Olivia, if you could go back to your younger self and tell your younger self the best advice that you can think of, what would it be?
That
I
is
know that's a tough
hard.
one.
That's a very broad question.
That's hard.
It is hard. I don't know. Probably. Probably during your darkest days, it gets better. You just have to keep going, keep your faith, and push forward because your darkest days isn't the end. And it actually makes you the better person that you are. I've been through a lot of hard times and a lot of struggles. I didn't think I was gonna make it, but I guess that's what makes me who I am today and helps me with my job.
There you go. I
You
love
are a
that.
strong girl. Keep it up. You are a strong sister. Come on. You got
So,
this.
Olivia, I want to thank you for coming on. And I know you and I have been talking about this for a few weeks.
Right.
And I know when someone like messages you and say, "Hey, come on my show," and you see me from TikTok and you're like, "I don't know about this."
Hello.
I want to say thank you for trusting me.
Thank you.
In allowing for you to come on the show. I really appreciate it. We all appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
We want you to go out there and keep doing a good job, being an example to your community, and be safe out there.
100% be safe.
Stay
Keep
safe.
it going, girl. You got this.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all having me.
No problem. So we're going to get off the live, but everyone have a wonderful night.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course.
Good.
Thank